Very good afternoon to all. Welcome all the participants to 172th episode of Talk the book review. It is a prestigious program which was launched by Andhra Pradesh State Council of Higher Education and continued from last 3 years. So today with us, Dr. Sr.Candy D. Cunha. So she is going to review the book Ecosophical Vision and Self-Realization in Margaret Atwood's Prose. It is a self-authored book. And first, I would like to introduce today's author cum reviewer, Dr. Candy. Dr. Candy is an accomplished academic and educator serving as an associate professor of English at Andhra Loyola Institute of Engineering and Technology, Vijayawada. In addition to her teaching role, she holds several key administrative positions, including Dean of Students' Activities and Coordinator for Internal Quality Assurance Cell and NAC. Dr. D. Cunha has made a significant contribution to the field of English literature through her extensive publications. She is the author of 16 books, including Case of Life in 2005, The Fiction Unfolded, Critical Gauges on Indian Women Novelties in English in the year 2019, and today's review book is Ecological and Self-Realization in Margaret Atwood's Prose in the year 2019. Her editorial work includes volumes on English language and literature in the era of globalization and eco-critical studies. Her academic credentials are further distinguished by advanced courses from Harvard University. Her scholarly output includes numerous national and international publications, and she has been actively involved in presenting at seminars, delivering guest lectures, and chairing sessions at conferences. Recognized for her excellence in education and research, D. Cunha has received several prestigious awards, including the Best Teachers Award from KVN UGC Women's Studies Center in 2019 and an all-round proficiency award from Hungary in 2012. She has also been honored with a certificate of honor for her disquisition on meta-language, an award for distinguished performance in a digital teaching course, and recognition as the best anchor of Vijayawada by the Commissionerate of Archaeology and Museums, Government of Andhra Pradesh. In addition to her academic and administrative role, Dr. D. Cunha is a skilled composer and singer, having won numerous prizes and elocution, essay writing, and singing events. She completed her TESOL certificate in 2016 and plays a leading role in coordinating various institutional clubs, including the Literacy Club and Euphonious Voice Club. Dr. D. Cunha also serves on the editorial board of esteemed journals such as Conatus and International Students. She has been appointed as one of the executive council member of Ecosophical Foundation for the Study of Literature and Environments in the Andhra Pradesh region. So I heartily welcome, madam, on behalf of I welcome you for accepting our invitation and reviewing your self-authored book. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your generous words, and thank you for introducing me to the audience. So good afternoon to the distinguished in-charge chairman and vice chairman of APSHE, Professor K. Ram Mohan Rao Garu, esteemed members of APSHE, principals of various colleges, academicians, research scholars, and my dear students. At the outset, let me speak a few words about this book. So let me acknowledge that this book is a guided thesis by Professor Suvarna Lakshmi, FLU, Hyderabad, Professor N. Usha from Krishna University. And this thesis was brought out in a form of a book, and it was published by Academica Press in 2019, Washington, London. This book has 6 chapters. The first chapter is Ecosophy. The second chapter is Margaret Atwood and Ecosophy. The third chapter is Eco-symbolism. Fourth chapter is Ecofeminism. Fifth chapter is eco-spirituality. And the last chapter is moving towards Indian ecological justice. The main concept of presenting this book to you all is it is viewed from an Indian situation. And it is also reminding the Indians about the ecological aspects to be taken into consideration. So let me talk about the book. The book focuses firstly on the main concept of ecophilosophy. So what is ecophilosophy? It is the philosophy of an ecology propounded by Arnenes, a Norwegian philosopher and a mountaineer. He is a founder of deep ecological movement. He introduced the concept of ecophilosophy. It is called as ecological harmony and equilibrium. At the age of 10, he developed a mythopoetic connection with the mountain. And this mountain was just like a father to him. And he called this mountain as Hellingskavet. And he climbed on the top of the mountain and remained there for several years. And with his reflection and genuine ideas, he came out with the two important concepts. And he said the first concept to be as shallow ecology, and the second concept to be called as deep ecology. Now, according to him, the supporters of shallow ecology looks only for the temporary solution of ecological problems. They focuses on individualism, androcentrism, and anthropocentrism. So what is all about individualism? So individualism means having an individualistic attitude, focusing on myself and my importance in the earth. I want to be happy and not the others. Just like the idea of Fyodor Dostoevsky. He said, let the world go to hell. I should have my cup of tea. The concept of androcentrism focuses on man's superiority. Man feels that he is superior and female and other creatures are inferior. So it is more or less a patriarchal dominance over the earth. And the third concept is anthropocentrism, wherein human beings feel that they are the center of creation and all the non-human beings have not the greater place in the creation. So all the supporters of shallow ecology focuses on the temporary solution to save the earth or to save any concept which is affecting the earth. On the other hand, Arnenes reminds of the beautiful concept that is deep ecology. According to him, he says that there are 8-tier principles. The first principle is intrinsic value. So every human being on this earth, human and non-human, has an intrinsic value. For example, just look at this pen. So I say that this pen is good and it writes good. So because I say it is good and it writes good, it is not so. It is good because it is good in itself. So he says that everything existing on this earth has an intrinsic value in itself. So we need to give the value to an independent value. I say that value has no value unless and until it is valued. So value the value and value in turn will value you. So intrinsic value is very important. Secondly, focuses on biodiversity. He says that richness and biodiversity of any form of creation, any form of life is to be realized and it is to be respected because everything has its value. Thirdly, he says about the vital need. Human being, except to satisfy your vital need, you have no right to reduce the biodiversity or richness of diversity or any form of creation. So just to satisfy your vital need. Fourth one, he speaks about population. Population of human and also on non-human. It should be compatible. So it should be flourishing, but at the same time, it should be equal, it should be compatible. And these kind of concepts are decreasing. And fifth one, he reminds of human interferences. He says that the present human situation is worsening, and it is worsening, and it is worsening to the extreme that the non-human world is completely extinct and it is forgotten. And the next principle, he tries to focus on policy changes. He says that the policy makers should take into consideration about the different policies which are changing and bring it into consideration the economic, technological, and ideological structure, which are also very important in the policy making. And seventh, he talks about the quality of life. he says about the ideological change is mainly to appreciate life's quality and not the quantity. And we all need to adhere to that quality. And last, he says, all those who are listening right here, directly, indirectly, have obligation to subscribe to the foregoing points and have obligation directly or indirectly to implement and make necessary changes, especially in the terms of ecological justice. Now, coming to the novels of Margaret Atwood, I have taken the concept of ecophilosophy as an authored as this is an authored book. This concept of ecophilosophy is embedded into the works of Margaret Atwood. So Margaret Atwood is a Canadian writer. Her full name is Margaret Eleanor Atwood. She was born on 18th November in 1939 in Ottawa, Canada. She was a poet, author, critic, and environmental activist. She is a celebrated writer and she has won many awards, including for her novel, for her poetry, for her essay, for her journals, etc. She is also known for her speculative fiction, which explores many themes like feminism, dystopia, environmental issues, etc. She has written nearly 40 novels. And out of 40 novels, I have taken 5 novels of Atwood. This book suggests 5 novels of her Atwood, and they bring out the ecosophy in those 5 books. So what are those 5 books? The first book is, her first novel is Surfacing, which was written in 1972. The second novel is The Handmaid's Tale, which was written in 1985. The third novel is Oryx and Crake, which was written in 2003. And the fourth novel is The Year of the Flood, which was written in 2009. And the fifth novel, Mad Adam, which was written in 2013. So I have highlighted the theory of ecophilosophy in all these novels. And I have also touched upon the concept of eco-symbolism, ecofeminism, and eco-spirituality in all the 5 novels of Atwood, and viewed all these novels from an Indian perspective. Now, what is all about this Surfacing? Surfacing is a novel which was written in 1972. It has a very simple story, but an underlying element of self-realization. As the theme of this book goes, ecosophical vision and self-realization in Margaret Atwood's prose. So it is a story of an unnamed narrator who was a commercial artist. She lived in Toronto for many years because she was cheated in her life and she felt very difficult to face her parents. So she lived a hidden life in Toronto, which was in a city. And then one fine day, she was told by someone that her father is missing. And on hearing the mysterious missing of her father, she goes, this unnamed narrator goes, along with her 3 companions, in search of her missing father. In the course of time, when she comes to her original place in Quebec, Quebec was a rural area. It was a native place. It was her hometown. It was a country. When she comes back to her country, she sees the environment is completely different. There are dying birches. The disease is spreading from the north, and lot of things she could see. There was a lot of change. She even forgot the road. She was not able to identify whether she is on the right track or not. And then in course of time, as the story advances, we can see she has a lot of discourses with her companions, wherein the key elements of nature are highlighted. The dominant nature of heron, a bird which flies very high in the sky and which was killed by Americans, is highlighted, and the different nature themes are highlighted in the text. But the culmination of the story goes where the narrator tries to plunge deep into the river to find out her missing father. As she dives into the deep, she gets the purgation for her sins. She tries to identify her broken self because she was staying in Toronto for long years, cheating her parents and not telling them the truth. But the moment she plunges into the deep, she identified her broken self. So here we can see how nature helped her to realize. In many of our cultures, we take water for purification, holy dip in Ganga, or even we can see in many religions, water is considered as a purifying aspects, way to purity. So the unnamed narrator plunges deep, dives deep into the ocean, into the river, and comes purified, comes out self-realized with with having a proper attitude to live her life, and she feels very grateful to the nature, and she self realizes her role in the nature. So this beautiful book, novel written by Atwood on surfacing, has the underlying element of ecophilosophy. Arnenis says, the more you go closer to the mountain, you will identify how small you are. In the similar way, this unnamed protagonist, when she plunged into the river, she could identify how little she is. She could see her brokenness. She could see how dirty she is. And she could come out again fresh because she was holding tightly to the nature. Let me tell you about the second book, which is there very much present in this authored version. And it is all about The Handmaid's Tale, which was published in 1985. Now, Handmaid's Tale is a speculative fiction, and it has a historical background, and it focuses on many themes like environmental degradation, low birth rates, patriarchal domination, etc. There is a concept of an earthquake which was taken place in St. Andreas, California, which caused explosion of the nuclear plant. That is towards the close of Christian millennium, and the whole thing, became completely destroyed and distorted. Especially the Earth. Earth was completely spoiled. It was destroyed and distorted because of the radioactive rays. The disaster was also brought on the nature, especially on the Mother Earth, and also on women, wherein they became barren. So this Handmaid's Tale is a story of a protagonist named Offred. So Atwood has created this particular character in order to identify of nature. And she has also created other subtle characters, those who are not able to bear children, like those who are, unfertile. They were, thrown into which is one side degraded. So the theory of ecofeminism also comes over, wherein there is a parallel link between a woman and a nature. The nature which is destroyed is undergoing agony and pain, and woman who is also suffering with the radioactive rays are also suffering with the nature, collecting the toxic waste and being succumbed to death. So at the end, the main protagonist tries to have a kind of a small friendship with a secret police, and she tries to convince the police and tries to escape from the city of Gilead, which Atwood has shown his handmaids. Handmaids means those who are able to bear children and brought to the commander and his wife. So finally, Offred escapes from this particular situation and goes back to the nature. The moment she goes back to the nature, she self-realizes her belongingness to the nature, her happiness in the nature. And when she was in the cloistered environment, she attempts to run out, she tries to look at the flowers, she tries to listen to the sound of a bird, etc., and finds joy and solace in the nature. So this beautiful novel, The Handmaid's Tale, also ends up with a theory of eco-philosophy with a concept of self-realization. Now, coming to the third novel, I mean, these three novels are all together. They are called as companion novels. Oryx and Crake, Here Are the Flood, and Martyrdom. So they are not sequel and prequel, but they are companion novels. So these first novel, Oryx and Crake, opens up with a character of a snowman. So snowman is like a robotic monster, abnormal monster, who is walking on the seashore and having to have and trying to have a rapport with a spider, with a grasshopper, etc. And as he and collects, he is taken to his bygone memories and recollects that in his past life he was Jimmy. And then he recollects and he sees that they had an organic farm and his father was an engineer who used to experiment on pigs, and they used to bring out program pigs called pigons. So transplantation of human organs into a pig. And then they used to make some kind of humanoids. And his mother was a scientist who is also identified, in that particular tries to recollect. And then his connection with the crake and crakus and oryx, who he truly loved. So the entire subtle characters and the major character, Jimmy, who participates in this genetic engineering, finally undergoes a kind of a huge disaster, a doomsday, where he completely loses himself. And at the end, he's lying down on the sea. And he's not able to identify the real creatures. He's not able to identify the genetically made creatures. So the underlying element of this particular novel is man can use technology, but not overuse technology. As Arnene says in his one of the principles, except to satisfy your vital need, you have no right to reduce the creation. So God, who has beautifully created this creation, we cannot manipulate it by bringing some other aspects to the extreme that the whole thing is, collapse and we wait for a doomsday. And then finally, this character, Jimmy, realizes. Then coming to the next novel, it is a sequel. It is not a sequel and prequel, but it is a companion novel. We can see the characters of the first novel in the last novel and the last novel in the second novel, etc. So coming to the year of the flood, there is a waterless flood. And because of the waterless flood, many people, they are affected in one way or the other. And then they don't know what to do with the disaster. And then they try to escape. They try to escape the flood. And there are a lot of hymns which are shown by Atwood in these novels, trying to, tell the gardens, tell survivors of the flood to escape and to live a very good life instead of living with the humanoids or living with a kind of a life which will not be easy. So this novel also closes with a kind of repairing and preparing for a better world. And it gives a way for the third novel, that is Martyrdom. So these novels are nothing but a trilogy because the characters replicate from first novel to the second and then last novel to the first, etc. And we can see in the last novel, eagerly they are waiting, they are repairing this devastating plague, and then the programs which are engineered by the Quakers. Quakers are again the small minor characters which are found in the first novel, and they are focusing on other characters like Toby, Zen. All these are engaged in trying to find the solution for the flood and the disaster, and they try their level best to rebuild the creation. So when you look at this Margaret Atwood's text, Mad Adam, which was published in 2013, we can see a capital A in Mad Adam. So A symbolizes that it is the story of Adam and Eve. They also were given a beautiful garden to enjoy, a paradise to enjoy, but finally they went against the will of God. So those kind of concepts are replicated in this novel. And finally, the focus theme is eco-philosophy, wherein all the characters directly, indirectly are made to self-realize. So the main intention of Margaret Atwood, who is trailblazing from Canada to save the earth, tries to say that only self-realization can change. See, she says that it is not the threat to planet is not the planet, but it is we are the threat to the planet. And then the trilogy gets it has a very good ending wherein they try to rebuild the creation, where they try to rebuild the whole nature and they try to find joy and solace in the nature. Now coming to other aspects, the branches of eco-philosophy, as we know that eco-criticism is now it is used as a blanket term for various critical aspects, attacks, especially eco-symbolism, eco-feminism, and eco-spirituality. So the other topics in the text are also focusing on these elements, and they are trying to elaborate upon the theory, elaborate upon the eco-symbols in the novels of Atwood. So if you try to look at surfacing, there are so many eco-symbols like birches, like heron, like cat, like lizards. There are so many nature elements wherein the character tries to connect herself with this eco element. And coming to the next chapter, ecofeminism, we can see that in Handmaid's Tale, and we can see also ecofeminism in Surfacing, the first novel, wherein the main characters try to connect themselves with the nature. The nature is destroyed, and the character also is feeling, is also affected with the nature. So there is a parallel link between the women and the nature. And the last one is eco-spirituality. Eco-spirituality means to have a spiritual, divine connection with the nature. And I could see this one in the third novel, The Year of the Flood, and the last novel, Martyrdom. How they developed, the characters developed a true love for nature, trying to repair and prepare the nature, trying to escape from the waterless flood, and trying to see the spiritual aspect in the nature, trying to preserve the nature. So some of the characters are very wonderfully portrayed by Atwood. They try their best, to save the earth, save the nature. So those kind of aspects are seen very vividly in the nature. Now coming to the last chapter, which is very important, especially for we Indians. Why Atwood? And why Atwood I have taken? What is the connection between Atwood and Canadian writing and Indian? So Canada and India, both are post-colonial countries. So if you try to see, they also were under the British, and we were also under the British. So both are having colonial experience, experience of exile, experience of migration, experience of immigration, experience of staying on the borderlines. Despite having the similar experience, the results are different. Canada is a developed country, while India is a developing country. Despite having the similar experiences, still in the terms of ecological aspects, India lags behind. So I have taken these both novels because it is a post-colonial, they are post-colonial countries. And my idea was to focus on Indian situation. Now, when we look at the richness of our country, we have a lot of rich culture, tradition, and our Indian eco-philosophy is very rich. It comes right from the Vedic period. We can see how rishis and maharshis, they went into the interior place to meditate, and they went on the mountains to meditate on the fundamental questions about life, about the philosophy of life, and they found the answer to the question in the nature. They banked on the nature for everything. And we can see in Atharva Veda, Bhumi is personified as mother goddess. And in the fifth Veda, it speaks about Ayurvedic system, which has the basic of medical value. And when we take about Advaita Vedanta, it speaks about non-deological aspect. So non-deology means single one. And from there only we can see this Buddhist aspect has come. They consider as one, whether it is nature or human being, it is all one. So we have a wonderful tradition value in India. We can look at the trees like banyan tree, which is venerated, or which was venerated, people tree, mango tree, tulsi tree. All these are venerated for different occasions, and we try to take mango leaves and sometimes celebrate our festivals, etc. But the question is, are we really having that same vision we had in the past for the nature? Do we take those leaves or those kind of a spiritual aspect, spiritual thing and still continue with the same? Rabindranath Tagore, now coming to the Indian environmentalist, Rabindranath Tagore, we can see in his poems, Gitanjali, so wonderful, love offering poems. He has touched upon many eco elements, and he found solace and joy in Shantiniketan. Shantiniketan was, simply a comfortable place where children enjoyed the atmospheric freedom, and they enjoyed peace and harmony. So Tagore also focuses all about the beauty of nature, being an Indian environmentalist. Coming to Vandana Shiva, she has hugged 300 trees, and she participated in the Chipko movement. And she said, if you want to cut a tree, please cut me. Her love for the nature, her love. And she has also given the spiritual aspect of the nature. She calls food as annadana. So when you're consuming food, you have to consume it with respect. So that is what she says in Staying Alive in her popular books. And she has a nursery and she does great work. And she is a living environmental activist, very much strong and determined, all about environmental concerns. Coming to Ramchandra Guha, he has also wonderfully given in his work, how much food can I consume? So it's like RNA's principle, how much we can consume, except to satisfy our vital need. Even Ramchandra Guha says the same. How much food can we consume? Whether we can eat everything or we have to keep it for the next generation. So if you try to look at those texts, our Indian environmentalists, they are beautifully, wonderfully elaborated on various aspects of environment. And then coming to Arundhati Roy. Arundhati Roy wonderfully says in her essay, End of Imagination, my world has died. I write to mourn its passing. My world is dead, she says. So she says, which government has guts to press the button in the world? So they wanted to experiment. This Indian government and Pakistani government wanted to experiment the nuclear weapon in Rajasthan. And they were not, worried. They thought that it is like a deserted place. Nothing would happen. There will not be any effects of it. And they wanted to, just make an experiment. But the moment it is brought to the notice of this environmental activist Arundhati Roy, she says that my world is mourning. It is warm. My world has died, and it is mourning, and it is passing, because she tries to say which government has guts to press the button and end the world. So it is kind of a reflection for all of us to see how these environmental activists are so much busy in doing their daily environmentalist work, their work to propose ecological changes and bring some kind of balance and harmony on the face of the earth. Coming to a beautiful encyclical by Pope Laudato Si, Care for Common Home. It is all about cry of the creator, cry of the creation, and cry of the creature. So these are the three realities. So creator who created this beautiful earth feels so bad that it is all destroyed and distorted with all pollutions, with all different kinds of, different kinds of dangers of technology, etc. on this earth, and it is completely destroyed. So the creator cries. So it is a cry of the creator, cry of the creation, non-human. For example, we can see so many species are extinct. Sparrows, which we could see in our bygone days when we were children, are not existing now. So where are they all gone? So because of the radiations, they are all extinct, they are gone. And then we can also see the other species which are, depleting. Why the species are depleting? Because of the radioactive waste, the dangers of, different kinds of raises, which makes them to completely vanish. And then we should also understand that we cannot exist without earth, but earth can exist even without us. So earth does need us. Look at Kashmir, which is so original and so natural, so beautiful. So no one needs to make, Kashmir to look beautiful. It is all natural. So like that, earth doesn't need us. But we need earth. Earth can live without us, but we cannot live. Earth can live without us, but we cannot live without the earth. So it is our bounden duty and responsibility to see for our mother home, because it is our home and it is our dwelling place, and we need to take care of it. And we can see this non-human, how they are vanished. So it is a cry of the creature. And the last, cry of the poor. So finally, who are the victims? Who are the victims of the environment? The victims of the environment are those poor people, those who are living in unhealthy environment. And they feel that they are completely broken. They are, completely lost. They stand somewhere near the shabby, very shabby environment, just staying near. Everything is dumped into a sea and then dumped into a river in a slum area. They live over there and they try to live their livelihood. So they are the victims, because, a rich tries to live a comfortable life, while these poor people, when they have nothing to live, so they have no other choice to make except to say yes or to oblige to the setting or to the surrounding which they are placed. So it is a triple cry: cry of the earth, cry of the creator, and cry of the creation. So unless and until there is a balance and harmonious relationship between these three realities, we cannot bring this peace on the face of this earth. Margaret Atwood has wonderfully given her vision. She had come to Jaipur in 2019, and in Jaipur, she participated in a Jaipur Fest, and there also she was, telling all about Indian situation, telling all about her novels, and telling about how to save the earth as an environmental activist. So her vision, which is, very much given all about as an environmentalist in her text, is very much relevant to the Indian situation, because she came to India by herself and she suggested the Indians all about bringing change, bringing peace and harmony, and how you can make this world a better place. And we can see every day, we have to practice everyday environmentalism. So what are the small steps we can take in this world to make our India completely free from unnecessary things? So we need to control it on all the ends. Like we need to start with the first of all saving power. Then we need for the renewable energy in our area. We are now in Andhra Pradesh. We have so much of sun, but when you go to Mumbai, my native place, or in some other place, we may not have that much sun, but there will be some other energy like energy, some sun energy. So we need to try to be aware of the energy, the resources which we are blessed with, and that those people need to make very much, attempts, or constantly try to make those resources something very much applicable to one's own state or one's own country. And then we need to practice Swachh Bharat, which is a very beautiful scheme going on, which is echoed by our government. So we need to have Swachh Bharat in our own little ways. We need not do everything, as Mother Teresa says, you cannot do everything, but you can do something. So we can at least light a candle to dispel the darkness. So do small things. Little acts only will make a difference. Little acts will make all beautiful. So every is very important. We need to make we need to take small. A drop on the in the ocean can still be considered as a drop in the ocean and still a part of the ocean and very important in the ocean. So, environmentalism also is all about small decisions we take, especially with regard to ecology, focusing on jute cloth, focusing on cloth material, then taking plastic bags or plastic material, because it cannot be composed, and then the whole is degraded, and we can see what are happening, deforestation, and then we hybridization. So there are certain things, they come into the concept of individualism, anthropocentrism, and especially women in the nature also are to be given equal importance. This is also something echoed in the text of Atwood. Women, they feel very much inferior. Why they feel inferior? Because they connect themselves so much with the nature. So they inferior because they are not given the equal rights with the nature. So actually, nature and women undergo a kind of similarity. Both women and nature have that offering, kind of an offering, character of offering. So also we feel bad when are underestimated, especially in the terms of ecology. And then we can see Wangari Maathai in Africa, who beautifully led the Green Belt movement. She also movement. She has led a movement, and she has got it as uh, a long goals and short goals. She, encouraged the women in Africa, and finally she got this award, a Nobel Prize for Peace, a first woman getting a Nobel Prize for Peace. So Wangari Maathai, little deeds, she taught women how to save. So like that, women should be encouraged wherever they are, and they also know to live their. They also know how by making small by small steps, especially in the terms of ecology. And then what are the other attempts we can make to make this world a better place? So Arundhati Roy, she reminds, and then Vandana Shiva, as she reminds, Ramchandra Guha, Ramchandra, these mentalists constantly reminds us, take care of the nature, which is so dear to us. We should constantly keep nature as our protector, nature as guide.
Madam, hello, madam. Madam, please switch on your video, madam. Now it's okay, madam. Yeah.
Short review. before I conclude with my book review. This book focuses on 6 chapters. The first chapter is on ecophilosophy, the second chapter on Atwood and ecophilosophy, how Atwood has contributed so much to the environment, especially learned from her parents, her father being an entomologist and her mother being a scientist, how she has picked up this environmental concept and how she has applied it wonderfully to her novels. And the theory of eco-symbolism, eco-feminism, and eco-spirituality, which is a blanket term of eco-criticism. Then the last chapter, moving Indian justice, a reminder for all the things. So the concept of deep ecology, which is propounded by the Norwegian philosopher, takes into consideration the idea of ecology and deep ecology. Shallow ecology focuses on individualism, androcentrism, anthropocentrism, and the 8 tier principles of deep ecology are very important. And what these deep ecologists do, usually they ask why to the problem. Now, for example, if a pollution is a problem, so pollution is a problem, what do? We do only pollution check, or we try to control, try to see that the traffic is diverted from one end to the other end. The concept, the supporters of deep will ask why problem. So what should I, what my responsibility? Self-realization. I should realize that is because of me. Am the cause bringing of damage to the creation, or this kind of pollution, or what are the steps I can take in order to prevent this this pollution, etc. So you are asking why, taking the personal responsibility, asking why, and self-realizing. So all the 8 tier principles focuses on these kind of aspects. And then coming towards the end, we can see how Atwood has highlighted these aspects in her 5 novels: Surfacing, Handmaid's Tale, Oryx and Crake, Year of the Flood, and Martyrdom. And towards the end, you can see she has highlighted upon the concept of realization. In the light of all this, I would like to present a poem which is very much in the text. So I try to open particular book. I have 2 poems in this book, and the first poem is Eco-Spirituality. It goes like this: look at the sun and see how brightly it shines, sharing equally its lights, sharing equally its light with everyone all the time. Feel the gentle breeze sweetly whispering around, spreading its wings and enveloping the beautiful ground. Listen to the pit-patter sound of the drop of rain falling in the seed in due season to produce the grain. Every phenomenon in creation is a gratuitous gift. Every person has an equal right from it to benefit. Eco-spirituality has no barriers and no discrimination. It breaks all fetters and leads inclination. It provides me with hope and patience in the pursuits of justice. Be kind, respectful, Mother Earth, strive for peace. Reconnecting to nature and rediscovering one's love for the earth can bring awakening and fill one's life with laughter and mirth. Living by eco-spirituality will fill one's life with wonder and grace, cause it has neither caste nor and give us comfort and solace. So this is a wonderful poem which is there into the text, and it is in the light of eco-symbolism. Eco-symbolism is a theory where a lot of symbols are taken very important. So we can see a lot of symbols also in the nature: a symbol of a maple leaf, a symbol of a tree, a symbol of a mango tree, a symbol of a peepal tree, a symbol of a banyan tree. It can be any symbol, but they should be eco symbols. So this poem brings us to mind the eco symbols and the spiritual aspects which are highlighted, that it has no caste, it has no creed, but it can spirituality can only give us comfort and solace. So along with the symbolic aspects, even the spiritual aspect is very important to maintain balance and harmony on the face of the earth. So my dear my dear friends, my dear academics, those who are listening to this book review, I would suggest to go through these books and to see that you try to practice everyday environmentalism, especially the last chapter. And my good wishes to you. And I hope that you will refer to this book, and then you will try to make your own environment practices in your day-to-day life and become a part of everyday, which can become a part of everyday environmentalism. So thank you once, thank you twice. And at this juncture, I would like to thank APSHE, Andhra Pradesh State Council of Higher Education, for giving me this golden opportunity to explore my ideas through this authored book, Ecosophical Vision and Self-Realization in the works of Margaret Atwood. And this was my research work, which was, encouraged to published in, which was encouraged, and I got it published in Washington, London. And at this juncture, also, I thank the management of my college, Andhra Loyola Institute of Engineering and Technology, especially Reverend Father Dr. B. Joji Reddy, SJ, Secretary and Director of Elliott, for providing always an opportunity to voice out all our ideas, feelings, actually, which will contribute making better changes, which can contribute in the balance and harmony on the earth, or which can for the academicians research, better thinking and better orientation. And I would also like to thank our Dr. Onish, our principal, and Reverend Father Balaswamy, our assistant director, for all the encouragement and support I get in this prestigious institution. Thanks to all the academicians, thanks to all the faculty members, those who are part of this book review series. And thanks for listening to me, patiently listening to me, and thanks to one and all. So thank you, and thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Candy, Madam. Thank you for your review and highlighting the importance of the environment. So thank you. Thank you, Madam. We'll close the session.
Thank you, sir. And thank you to Matthew Srirangam, sir, who took so much of trouble and who did everything for me. So thanks, very special thanks to Matthew Srirangam, sir, and also to all the other members of APSHE for being so nice and making this kind of book reviews. And I feel that these book reviews will definitely contribute towards better research, better orientation, and people can enhance their academic interests, and they can contribute to a better society for Andhra Pradesh and better India and the world at large. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.